I'm Andrea Donnellan. I'm a professor and head of Earth, Atmospheric, and Planetary Sciences Department at Purdue University. Our research measures crustal deformation and plate tectonics, and if you just think of a rubber band being stretched, eventually it will break. We're measuring that stretching part of the Earth's crust. That helps us then understand where the crust is weak, where earthquakes might occur, or where they have occurred in the past. We can't predict earthquakes, but we do look at earthquake hazard and probabilities. We try to narrow down the time frame and location where earthquakes might occur. And we use that using space data, airborne data, and computer models. My research measures everything with the shaking part of earthquakes, and we do that using a variety of techniques. Here's a quarter scale view of an instrument that we fly in an airplane. It's 8 cameras. We fly over the Earth. It's 4 times as large and much heavier. And we construct 3D models, so these 3D models of the Earth where we can look for faults, volcanoes, and other processes. I also measure using GPS, which we all now have in our phones, very precisely how the ground moves over time. So millimeter a year level across state and continent scales we can measure. That tells us how strain is accumulating. And then more recently, we're using radar, which creates these beautiful images of surface displacement across the entire state, and we can see how the ground moves over time. We can study so much with the techniques that we use, the remote sensing techniques. With this optical platform that we fly, the cameras, we measure topography and we can measure trees. So we can tell where the trees are, we can measure change over time. So any way the land surface moves, we can measure that. It's not just earthquakes. We can measure landslides, flooding, coastal erosion, ice and glaciers, how they change over time. And then we can also detect things like how wildfires modify the landscape because we're doing change over time. And that's not just with a stereo imaging optical image, but with radar, the same things apply. With the airborne instruments that I'm doing, we're working on getting those into space in the next decade so that we can globally measure topography. But right now, a new mission launched called NISAR, and that's a radar mission that will provide global observations of how the land surface is moving and how the vegetation is changing, how our ice sheets are changing, and how glaciers are changing. Now, so this is silty area, and then the lake, the water's here, but this is all like muddy silty because it's so low.